We got some brand new Warbond CCUs today, but they're actually not alien ships?
What the hell?
Let's get into it. The Merchantman is still available first off, so I'm going to quickly go over this. I did cover it in the last video, but in case you missed it, here we go. $50 discount for a ship that's increased in price by like 400 bucks. So it's still a discount, I suppose, if you're just jumping into the game now. The two best options here are the Liberator and Arastra. The caveat here is that these are, in fact, also all three of the ships would be, the Arastra, the Liberator, and the Merchantman are all concept ships. So because they're both concept ships, I'm comfortable recommending this as a CCU link in your chain because they're both going to go up in price. It's difficult to understand how much or by what magnitude each of them will go up in price, but they're both guaranteed to go up in price. So, well, there you have it. You can safely use this without losing too much money on the increased price of the ships at a later date. Both the Arastra and the Liberator are in the same place because they're the same 575 price point, and they're both concept ships. So the whole D is also a concept ship, so it could fall in that same category as well, but it's $25 more. You're going to spend $50 to save $50, and that's an okay ratio, so I suppose you could use this one as well, but these are just a better deal because you're only spending $25 to save $50. It's 2-to-1 savings ratio, so I like that one much better than using the whole D. Ironclad Assault, you're leaving way more money on the table. You're spending $65 to save $50. Don't like that ratio, and anything below that, you're also not saving as much. Anything else further down the stack, you're just kind of leaving too much money on the table. Like using the M2 would be, what, 80 bucks to save 50. I don't really like it. So that's it. Two recommendations are still going to be the Liberator and the Arastra, with a third place coming in for the whole D, I suppose, if you really wanted to spend extra money. So here's where it instantly gets weird. The M2, which is not at all an alien ship, and as far as I understand, it doesn't use alien technology at all, is the next Warbond CCU. Now, I'm not knocking the fact that the M2 has a discount today. We love all of our discounts equally, especially one that's a $35 discount here. But it just seems odd. It's supposed to be Alien Week. Like, it gets weirder from here too, by the way. But let's go through it. So first off, the M2 has had a few Warbonds in the past. Most recently is today, obviously. But before that, it was back in 2021. So I'm going to flip over here to the CCU game app. This basically shows everything that I always kind of talk about in the videos. I figured I'd put it on the screen this time so you guys can see how I'm walking through this. To see all the past Warbond CCUs and other sale events for Warbond prices on like outright ship purchases, you can just go to the ccugame.app and you go down to RSI all ships. It'll look like this. It'll have all the ships listed here. You just type in something for a normal search that is for the ship you're looking for, and all the wonderful price information is over here. It's not all encompassing. I did keep a running spreadsheet of previous Warbond sales that I have separately for my own use, but this is good enough, right? I mean, it gives you a good idea about when the sales were. Again, if it's in November, it's IAE. December, it's probably Red Festival into January. February is usually the Valentine's Day sale. 5 and 6, May, June area is usually Invictus and or Alien Week. Just to give you guys a heads up on all of those, that's really the dates mean. If it's got a weird one like September or like March, obviously they have sales for most main U.S. holidays and then some other random sales events. So there you go. Going through this again, Warbond CCU has been available for the M2 a couple times in the past. Again, back in 2021. It's not really rare, but it's not super common either. I think the C2 is far more common. But anyway, just giving you a heads up that it's pretty good on CCUs. It should come up again. If you're using it in the middle of a chain, sure, makes sense to carry on to the next level. Going down the stack here, the Explorer, right? $10 to save $35. That's a pretty good ratio. The 600i Explorer specifically has had quite a few Warbonds in the past. 5. I think there's been 5 total, even though only 4 are listed here. I think there were some previous to 2021. It may have been one of the others, though. I don't think the executives ever had one, but the Tourings had some, and I'll get to that one. I think they were before 2021 as well. But I think only one happened for each of these beforehand. Anyway, 600i is the first one on the list. I'm going to go back over here. So here's the 600i. That's the first one. It's had a few. It makes a good choice because A, it's the top dollar price point and gives the biggest discount, right? So I think I would recommend that one. The only other second one I would give you would be the Prowler. But here's the thing. You're spending 45 to save 35. That's not really a ratio we like. So ideally, you would not use this one. Again, the only time I would say go ahead and do it is if you've lost your patience, you want to get to your M2, or to maybe you have the rest of your chain built out and this is the one missing link and you just want to buy it. Sure, but still, think about it this way. If you bought this one, it's only $10 new money. You could use store credit to go from the Prowler to the 600i. That's usually a better course of action if you're just trying to get to that final ship or finish out a chain and you're done with your patience, right? If you absolutely still have your patience, just buy this one and wait out the rest. That's my recommendation. But I will go down the rest of the stack. The Ironclad, again, the M2 is not a concept ship. The Ironclad is a concept ship. I have a feeling the Ironclad, this is the base Ironclad, not the Assault. I have a feeling it will increase probably $35 to $50 at the bare minimum. So you would spend $35 and you would probably lose most of that in savings, or maybe even go backwards in it. I just don't know. So I'm not going to recommend this one at all because, again, concept left, non-concept right is usually a bad play unless it's such a good sale that it just doesn't matter, right? Prowler, again, if you've lost your patience, go ahead and do this one. Otherwise, I'm not going to recommend it. Then the 600i Touring is leaving even more money on the table. You're spending $55. And as I showed previously over here, you've got 600i Touring that has not had a recent war bond. It was prior to 2021 if it had one. And I think that was previous to the price increase as well, because they sort of did a revamp of the 600i series, and I think it was less before this. I'm trying to think back to when it used to be a discount, but I just don't remember. I think it was previous to 2021. I think that's when they finished out the was it actually a gold pass? I'm not sure if it was a full gold pass or if they just did some updating to it. May have been a gold pass. Man, as you get older, memory tends to go. Sorry, can't remember all the things about the CCU game. That's why I rely on the CCU game app. It helps me. Anyway, moving down the stack here, the Reclaimer, it's had a few war bonds. I don't want to say it's been common, but it has had a few in the past. Again, back in 2021, nothing really recent. So I don't know. It still hasn't had its gold pass, so it's probably going to increase in price. So who the hell knows on this one? Again, you're spending. What are we spending here? Let me switch windows. You're spending 85 to save 35. That's a terrible ratio. That's a 1-to-2 ratio almost, right? So yeah, not going to recommend that one. Even if you've lost your patience, I would say only go as far as the Prowler. Just get the 600i Explorer. That's the right move here. All right, so let's let the weirdness continue with the Eclipse as the next new Warbond CCU. Not terrible, but it's definitely a repeat. The Eclipse has had quite a few Warbond CCUs in the past. I think the last one was in September of 2023. Let me just swap over so you guys can see what I'm looking at here. So you've got September 2023, again, Invictus of last year, twice it looks like. Yeah, it happened twice during Invictus of last year. And then before that, it was IAE as well. And then again, another one in February of 2022. It's quite often. I like this one being changed because, well, it's a decent discount. Because it fits into a lot of chains. So it's a $25 discount here. Let me switch back. As you can see, it's a $25 discount, and we've got some choices here. All right, so let's jump over to the CCU game app and check out our options here. We've got the Warden. First off, it's only had one warband in the past. Again, I think it may have had one prior to 2021, and there's also some freebies out there still that have it. So Not super common, but it may be your best bet for this one for saving the most money. But there's another one here at the 260 mark, the Mercury, that may make more sense because it's had war bonds quite often. Almost every year it's got two. Again, March of this year it had one. IAE of last year it had one. What is it? Fortuna in March? I think Fortuna is in March. And then again, IAE in November. And then Invictus last year twice. And then IAE of the previous year where it had the Warbond Best in Show edition, which basically came with extra paint. I think it was a red gloss paint. Anyway, so I think out of the two at the top here, we've got the Mercury winning out at the $260 price point. I think it's a much better deal here. Spend $15 to save some good cash, and that's the one I'd recommend. But I'm going to go down the rest of the stack here, just so if you're playing a different kind of game here, or you already have some of these other war bonds and you can't, like let's say you bought one of the MSRs in the past, and again you've already used it in a different chain, but you have a Corsair already. Yeah, sure, that can make sense, right? So again, the Corsair pretty often as well. I think it's had like 5 or 6, maybe even more Warbond sales since it went live. It hits the docket pretty often as well. The Inferno and Ion, a little bit different story there. The Inferno's only had like 3 or 4, and the Ion has had like none, maybe 2. The Ion's only had 2, and it was basically right after it was released. Just after that, in fact. So if you had to pick between the Ion and the Inferno, for whatever reason, if you didn't have either of these, I mean, I suppose either one is as good of a bet. But if you're at the $250 price point, you've got the 400i, the Corsair, and the Inferno and the Ion. And between those 4 ships, I would go with the Corsair first, and probably the 400i after that. That's what I would do. They're just more, they just happen more, they come up more often, right? The 400i and the Corsair come up way more often comparably to the other 2. So that's what I would do. The Corsairs already had a price increase. So none of these are concept ships. So yes, they could raise in price, but not due to concept going into production. So they're all safe bets, I suppose. But looking back at the numbers, right? So if we pick the Mercury, we're spending 15 to save 25. Whereas if you go with any of these other 4, you're spending 25 to save 25. So again, not a terrible ratio. Spend $1, save $1. But the Mercury and the Warden technically make much better options for that sale because it's like 2 to 1, right? Instead of 1 to 1. And then anything further down the stack, the Santok, sure, it's still on Warbond sale right now as well. So again, if you just started the game and you're not necessarily in this for the super long haul and you'd rather get to the Eclipse or whatever ship you're building out in your chain, sure, you could spend $35 and save $25 right now and I guess use this in your chain if you already have the Santok or if you're about to buy the Santok Warbond CCU. So back in the store here, we've got the Hurricane. It's first on the docket here. Looks like you spend 10 to save 20. That's a good ratio, right? And the Hurricane, although it has had a I guess sort of recent price increase, I think it was back in 2022 or something, maybe the beginning of 2023. Even though it's had a price increase, this is still the best bet, right? Spend 10 to save 20. That's a decent ratio, so we like it. And the Hurricane has had quite a few Warbonds in the past. You could have had a recent one even last year in Invictus. I think it was the last time it came up on the docket. So it's a decent ship here. It's the highest price one, so the least amount of money out of your pocket right away, and best savings as well. Next up, we would have the Taurus. Now, again, you're spending 20 to save 20, so that's not ideal. And the Taurus has only had a couple recent Warbond CCU sales. It's only hit twice in recent memory. Once back in Invictus 2022, it looks like, and then also once in IAE of last year. So you see only these 2 dates it's had one, and before that, I don't think it ever had one. It seems as though doesn't really get sales that often, so it's sort of rare, and it's a higher priced CCU So not only is it a little bit more rare, but it's also it's more money leaving on the table, and it's a worse ratio for spending new money. The Vulcan, as we all know, that's still a concept ship, although it may be hitting production relatively soon. If you spent $20 today, it's probably going to be a $240 ship. So you're spending $20 for a $0 option in the future to go for a cross chassis upgrade for $0 gain. I don't know why you would do that. It doesn't make much sense. What would be better is if you had the Vulcan over here on the right and you had like a $5 CCU to a, or I guess it'd be a $10 CCU, right? Are there any 195s? No. You'd probably have like a Zeus, not even a Zeus, a Saber Comet. Oh, not even that one. Jeez. Man, I don't know what you could do about it now. Yeah, you'd have like a $15 non-Warbond Saber Comet to Vulcan CCU now, and then speculate on this being a $220 ship, so you save 20 there, I guess, but it might work. I think that you could just wait for a Warbond sale for the Vulcan. Anyway, I digress. Getting back to the stack here, again, another $200 one. Hornet Heartseeker Mark 1. Again, this is a Mark 1 warning. Don't buy Mark 1 Hornets in the CCU game unless you already have a to and from, or at least a 2, right? Because this will get you the from. You can always get from the Heartseeker to the Sandtalk. It looks like they're leaving them in the all ship category over here. Again, my ships are over here on this little dot here, and then all ships are right here. So make sure you always hit the all ships so you don't think you're limited to whatever ships you have here. Oh, I'm not even logged in. I didn't realize that. Anyway, where were we? So the Hornet Heartseeker Mark 1. Again, the Mark 1 is what you need to pay attention to. Eventually, there will be a Heartseeker Mark 2. As far as I understand it, all of the Hornets will get upgraded to the Mark 2 versions in the future. But right now, it does not look like any of these Hornets are going to appear on the right. So if you don't already have a CCU, maybe from this year's Valentine's Day, from something to a Hornet Heartseeker Mark 1, do not put this in your chain. Even though it might seem like a good deal because it's a 1-to-1 ratio, do not use it unless you already have something, unless you already have the Heartseeker Warbond in your stable. Another good choice here is the A1. A1 comes around pretty often. Looks like there's been at least 3 of recent memory since 2023 IAE. That's a pretty good ratio. And yeah, if you're going at this $200 price point, I think the A1's probably your best bet anyway, if you didn't, for some reason, want to spend the $10 on the Hurricane. What else is down the stack? The rest, well, we've got concept ships, so No-Go, No Bueno, Saber Comet versus Saber Firebird. I'd probably hit the Firebird if you're going down this low in the stack at $185 range. Spend $35 to save $20, but you can complete this chain now because the Firebird is still available. But again, not recommending this. I'm just saying it is an option for those of you that lack patience. So again, we still have the Saber Firebird and Retaliator. These are the base. This is the base model Retaliator. I don't think the Retaliator bomber still exists. Yeah, Retaliator bomber doesn't even exist over here on the left now. So I'm not sure how you'll ever get to the Retaliator bomber if you already have those in your stable. Maybe I'll try to do a CCU from something to the Retaliator bomber in the future, just to give you guys an idea about kind of how things got messed up when they revamp entirely ships, specifically the Retaliator. When they made it modular, right, instead of having different versions of the ship like they did with the Cuddy Black, they've just decided to do modularity with the Retaliator, which means you just buy different modulars. You just buy different modules to install within the base model Retaliator. So it really messed up the CCU game on a couple of these. The Hornets are one and the Retaliator's another. If you already have a to and from, it should let you apply it. I just don't think you can buy any of them ever again for the other version of the Retaliator, the Retaliator bomber, which is, I think it was at like the $275 price mark. I can't recall. I think it was up there somewhere. But anyway, I think I've covered to death the Saber Firebird and Retaliator. If you haven't seen one of my videos on it, just go back and look at any of the other ones from Invictus. I think I covered it like 3 or 4 times, maybe more. But there you have it. Those are the updates for Alien Week, which is insane because there's 4 ships here that are not alien and only 2 that are. You've got the M2, the Eclipse, the Saber, Firebird, and the Retaliator. So you got 4 non-alien ships, and you have the Merchantman and the Santok, which are alien. So, and okay, look, I get it. Xenothreat is back. It just launched today. It's a new Xenothreat event, or maybe a rehash of the old one. I haven't gotten in game to check it out, but maybe that's part of this whole Eclipse and M2 thing. But it's just weird timing, you know. I don't know. I don't know who controls this. I don't know if it's Doreen. I don't know if it's Will Everett. I don't know if it's Eric Green. I don't know if Mike Jones or John Erskine or somebody else within SIG, but it's Alien Week. Let's have some alien ships on sale. Sure, I'm not going to be ungrateful for having Warbond CCUs, okay? In fact, I actually need this M2. I'm totally going to buy an M2 Warbond CCU right now to finish off one of my chains. I actually needed it. It just doesn't make much sense. It's awesome. I know people were looking for an M2, but I know way more people are expecting things like the Prowler or the Talon or any of the other ships that happen to be alien or alien reproduction ships from like AOPA or something to hit the Warbond sale during Alien Week. I'm not sure why the M2 hit. I'm not sure why the Eclipse hit. I'm still not sure why the Saber and Retaliator are still there. Like those, I thought we're supposed to end on the 11th, but whatever. I'm just a little confused about Alien Week at this point because the M2's here. Right? All right, that's enough of my ranting and raving. All right, so beyond the Retaliator and Firebird, there's nothing else down here. It's just a little bit of a weird one because you got 4 non-alien ships during Alien Week. I don't even know how to explain that. I'm not even going to try. Whoever puts these in, thank you for letting us play the CCU game, but let's get some sanity around what people are expecting and kind of meet those expectations. That's it for me, folks. I hope this information helped you save some cash during this Alien Week. And, well, hope to see you in game sometime. Zi-Tek, out.